Sierra blue color. It looks really nice. It's a little bit lighter than I thought it will be, but this device packs in some new, gives you 120 hertz refresh rate, which is absolutely great. Call of Duty Mobile. Now, this is just to basically just test things out, see how it runs, and see how that display feels. And honestly, while gaming, it feels so much better. It just feels like you're gliding. That feeling I've had on Android devices for the last 2 years, I now am enjoying it on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. And for me, that is really good. So it made shooting and all that stuff good. In terms of benchmarks, we're getting 59 frames per second, which is great, and it runs pretty well. There were just no issues with it whatsoever. Now moving to PUBG Mobile, we played both key settings, which is Smooth Extreme and Ultra HD Ultra. And in terms of stats, Smooth Extreme, we got that at 60 frames per second. Ultra HD Ultra, that also hit at 39 frames per second. Everything ran really well, so I have to say it was good. And honestly, the sound is amazing off of this. Most people aren't talking about it. The speakers on the iPhone 13 Pro Max is improved. It's about, I believe, 25% louder, but let's just take a listen to the speaker.
For the red team!
You give me an iPhone for a long period of time, or at least for a short period of time, according to this individual, your screen will just dim down because of the heat issues. Now, that happened to me after 2 hours of gaming. My screen dimmed down. I cranked up the brightness, and it still stayed the same. This is why I was playing Street of Rage on Xbox Game Pass. So that is just something to take note, and something that I think is affected by heating on the iPhone 13 Pro Max. Now, back to Genshin. The Max, which of course is 60 FPS, and I must add the caveat here though that none of these games are optimized yet for the iPhone 13 Pro Max or any of the iPhone 13 series, because the device is not out if you're watching this video before it actually launches. So that being said though, I played Genshin for 30 minutes and my FPS at the end of that 30 minutes gameplay session was between 46 to 48 frames per second. Beginning of my gameplay session, it was closer to 60, about 59 to 60, and it gradually dropped down. Within 10 minutes, it had dropped down to 50 frames per second. So that's just something to let you guys know, at least within that 10-minute time frame. Now, is that something that I'm bothered about? Not necessarily. I think I'm going to do an update to gaming in a month or so because of a couple of things. Number one, I don't think it's optimized, but also at least that gives me something of concern that I will have to check out later. And the other thing too is I did check out a ton of other games and I couldn't find a single game at this point in time that I could play at 120 hertz and get 120 frames per second. There was just no game. I played some Vainglory, which I'm terrible at, and Daniel is making faces because he's like, how dare you try that again? And I also played some Grim Valor. I played a few other games as well that I just wanted to see how it actually performed and functioned. And honestly, all those games ran well. Vainglory ran at a constant 59 frames per second. We also had a game called The Court that ran at 59 frames per second. We had a game called Word, which also ran at 59 frames per second. And in terms of our streaming services, Xbox Game Pass and Stadia ran well. No issues other than if you have a poor internet connection. The one thing I will bring to people is I have the backbone controller, which I tend to use a lot with the 12 Pro Max. It will fit, but it doesn't fit all the way on one side. So basically your iPhone can slip out quite easily and you can actually bend the lightning port in there. Works perfectly and works well, although I prefer the backbone controller. Just a side note for you guys, just to make sure that, hey, look, if you're using any of those controllers, these are some of the issues you might face with the iPhone 13 updates to see games to run at 120 frames, as well as also be better optimized for the A15 chipset, which is a very powerful chipset.